Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I am going to answer software testing interview question 18. That is, how many different ways you can test a software? In simple words, what are the different types of software testing? Let me answer this question for you. The software can be tested in many ways. There are different types of software testing, guys, okay, which can be performed on a software as part of testing. So, software can be tested in many ways. Not a single way is there for testing the software, guys. There are multiple, many ways. Okay, there are different testing types for testing the software. So, there are around 170 plus software testing types. Okay, I did a complete R&D on how many types of software testing types are there, and I found out that there are 170 plus software testing types. But when you get this particular question in the interview, you cannot give all the 170 plus types, right? No one can remember that. Okay, it's like a dictionary. So that's the reason, guys, I categorize the software testing types into basic types and other types. Okay. So in the basic types, whatever I'm explaining the basic types, if you explain them as a answer for this particular question in the interview, that will be enough, guys. Okay. On the top of that, if you have some time, you can explain the other testing types also, whatever I have listed in the other types. Okay. Fine. So let me explain the different basic types of testings that you can perform on the software. So I subcategorize them into different types again. Type ones. Okay. So basic ways of testing the software are manual testing is one way and automation testing is another way. So what is manual testing? What is automation testing? Let me explain. Okay. So this side manual testing, this side we have automation testing. Okay. We have to explain this manual testing and automation. These are the basic testing types and that too with the first types. Okay. So manual testing, coming to the manual testing, if a real person, okay, if a real person is performing the testing on the particular application, okay, by sitting before the particular computer machine using his or our eyes or hands, in that case we can call that as a manual testing. Okay, if a real person is performing the testing using his or her eyes or hand, that is called as manual testing. As here we are not using any tools like automation tools to perform the testing. Okay, a real person is performing the testing. What if you are using an automation tool? Okay, what if you are using an automation tool on behalf of a particular real person for performing the testing? Okay, there are several automation tools available in the market, guys. The famous ones are like Selenium is there, UFT is there, Test Complete, and so on, guys. Okay, Cypress, Cypress, and many automation tools are available in the market, guys. If you are using such kind of automation tools, and if these automation tools are performing the testing on behalf of a real person, that testing is known as automation testing. Okay. So next category of testing types that we can perform on the software are based on the type of the application you are testing. Okay. This category is all over the type of the application you are testing. For example, if you are testing a web application, that is called as a web application testing. What are web applications? Any application that runs in a browser is known as web application. For example, here, if I open amazon.com, okay, this application is running on a browser, right? This application is running via a browser. Such application is known as a web application. Any application that runs on a browser is a web application. And if you are testing such kind of applications which are running on a browsers, it can be Chrome, Firefox, or whatever the browser, that testing is known as web application testing. And if you are testing an application, okay, which is running on your operating system like Windows operating system, like which can come by default. Some softwares are like paint software. For example, here this is a paint software. I'm drawing all the things, right? This particular software is running on the Windows operating system, right? This particular software is running on the Windows operating system. If you are testing such kind of desktop application type of softwares which are running on the operating systems like Windows, Mac, or Linux, or any other operating system, such kind of applications are known. Testing such kind of applications is known as desktop application testing. Okay, testing such kind of applications is known as desktop application testing. So other example for the desktop applications that you can perform testing on are, for example, this particular software, Xmind software. Okay, this particular Xmind software doesn't come by default in the Windows operating system. Rather, you have to download this software, guys. Okay, you have to go to the website of the Xmind like this. Just search for Xmind, and in the search results you will get this xmind.net. Just scroll down here somewhere, and okay, completely scroll down, guys, and until you see the photo options, and go for the Xmind 8 Classic, and you can download from here. When you click on this free download or buy now, if you want to go with the premium one, you can go with the buy now. If you want to go with the free one that I am using in my machine, You can download from here. An exe file will be downloaded, and you have to double click and install that. That particular software that gets installed after installing the exe file is nothing but a desktop application, right, which runs on the operating system. Testing such kind of applications is known as desktop application testing. Similarly, guys, mobile applications. Okay. Similarly, we have mobile applications. Okay. If I type here mobile applications, any application that runs in the mobile phones. Okay. Smartphones nowadays, right? Everyone uses smartphones, right? So you install Instagram application, WhatsApp application, Facebook application, you install Amazon application, a lot of applications, mobile applications you can install, right? So, so testing such kind of mobile applications, okay? Testing such kind of mobile applications like this, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all these are the examples of the mobile application. If you are testing such kind of software in the mobile phones, is known as mobile application testing, guys. Okay, fine. Now, other category of testing types that you can perform on the other category of testing types that you can perform on the software are UI testing, API testing, and database testing. Okay, so there are different these are different layers of testing, you can say. UI testing, API testing, and database testing are the different layers of the testing. What happens, okay, generally what happens with an application is, let's say this is your laptop, guys. Okay, let's say this is your laptop. Okay, your computer machine or laptop, whatever it is, this is a laptop. On the other side, okay, on the other side, guys, on the other side, we'll have a server machine. Okay, server will be somewhere. Okay, server will be somewhere, guys. Okay, server machine will be somewhere in, yeah, on, like somewhere remote. Okay, so this is a server. This is the server machine. Let me take this name outside. Okay, this is a server machine where this laptop can be said as a client. Okay, this is a client machine. Okay? This is your laptop, and this is the server of the application. All the application code, for example, if you are using amazon.com, okay, the application code of the Amazon code is available on the server. The server is not in at your home, right? The server is at a remote location. It may be in Singapore, it can be USA. Okay, it can be in any place. So what happens is, for example, in your laptop, you opened a browser like Chrome browser, okay, and you opened an application URL in the browser, like some application URL you opened in the browser, like Amazon. You opened amazon.com here. What happens the moment you hit the URL here? Okay, a request will be sent to the server, guys. Okay, immediately the application will not be displayed in your laptop. So a request will be sent. Okay, a request will be sent to the server, and the appropriate application code will be processed by the server, run by the server, and as a result, a response will be sent back to this particular browser in your laptop or client machine. Okay, a response will be sent back. Okay, in the form of HTML, JavaScript, and all. A response will be sent back. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript response will be sent back. And based on this particular response, this particular browser will display the amazon.com application page here. Okay, the code is running on the server, and the page is displaying here, guys. Okay, the page is getting displayed here. Fine. So this is what happens in real time, guys. Okay, so now let's go and see what are the types of testing here. There are different layers, guys. I can differentiate this particular diagram into three layers. Okay, this is the first layer, this is the second layer. Okay, and also, guys, okay, this is a second layer, and there is one more thing where this particular server will maintain a database here. Okay, will maintain a database. So every server will have a database. Okay, so what is the purpose of the data? This particular database will store the data, guys. Okay, if required, this particular server, okay, will store the data or get the data from this database. This particular server will store the data into the database or retrieve the data from the database. This is what happens with the help of the application code running in the server. This will happen. Getting the data or storing the data will happen. Now, this particular diagram I can divide into three parts. Here, the first part I will say as UI layer. Okay, this is UI layer. Okay, this is the UI layer. What about this part? Middle part is known as API layer. Okay, where requests and responses are happening, right? This is the API layer. What about the third layer where the database is available? This is nothing but the database layer, guys. Like this, I can divide this particular diagram into three layers. Okay, so if you are testing this UI layer, that is front end of the application, if you are testing the front end, so what is front end, guys? For example, if I show you this particular application, we are seeing the front end of this application, guys. For example, here, login. If I go to the login here, okay, or if I go to this register page, all this is a front end, guys. Okay, we are testing the front end of the application, and if when you are testing the front end of the application, you perform the UI testing, guys. Okay, when you're testing the front end of the application, you will be testing the UI layer of the application. UI testing you will perform on the application. Are there any spelling mistakes in this heading? Are the colors proper? Are the items properly organized on the page? All these UI elements are properly organized, or the sections are properly categorized or not? The font size of this particular labels are correct or not? Okay, mandatory fields are mentioned with asterisk symbol or not? The UI elements are not overlapping with another UI elements. Okay, all these particular types of testing that you are doing here, okay, comes into UI testing, guys. Okay, that comes into the UI testing, guys. Checking each and everything like colors, alignments, overlappings, spellings, grammatical mistakes, alignments, everything comes into UI testing. Okay, you are testing the front end area of the application. Coming to the API testing, guys, if you are testing this API layer of the application, if you are testing this API layer of the application, like this request and response are properly happening or not. When you this particular application sends a request, a proper response is coming back or not. That kind of testing is known as API testing. Okay, that kind of testing is known as API testing. Generally, API testing will have this kind of requests and responses, guys. Okay, for example, let me show you. If I take you to this request sample application like request, okay, request.in, response.in. So you see there are a lot of API. This is the API request, guys. This is the response. Okay, this is how the request and response. When you are testing the request and response of the application, the UI will not be there, guys. You see, only the request URL is there and response code is there. Okay, response is coming like this. Okay? JSON format, you'll get the response. API request will happen in this URL format. Okay, so testing such kind of requests and whether they are giving a proper response or not is known as API testing. On the back side of the application, when you click on the continue button, after filling all these details, and when you click on the continue button, what happens is all these details will be sent to the server via a request. Okay, via a request. Okay, via a request, all the details of the register account details will be sent to the server like this. Okay, via request. If you are testing, application should process the request and properly create an account if the valid details are given via the request, and a proper response saying that the account got successfully registered should be sent back. Checking without the help of the UI, if you are testing the request and responses and see whether the account is getting created without the help of the UI or not, is nothing but the API testing. So here request and response is happening over the internet, but sometimes, guys, okay, there will be some applications. Okay, there will be some applications. You can break that applications. Okay, application code is here itself in your machine only. Desktop, for example, desktop applications, right? So let's say this is a desktop application which is running in your machine, and if you can break the complete desktop application into multiple parts like this, you see here also the this particular components will interact with each other, right? One of the component of this particular desktop software, no need to interact over the internet, guys. Okay, desktop softwares will have all the code installed in our machine only, right? You will get that as a form of exe file. When you click on exe file, the software will be installed in your machine, means here only the code will run. We don't have to send a request to server on the remote machine or something. Okay, so here this is also API requests and responses only, guys. Okay, this is also here API requests and responses are happening in your local machines. Okay, not on the internet, via the internet. Okay, so testing such kind of requests and responses is known as API testing. Okay, so if these requests and responses are happening over the internet, we generally call them as web services. Okay, if the requests and responses are happening over internet like this, over internet the requests and responses are happening, means we call these requests and responses are web services, and testing them is known as web services testing. Web services testing can also be called as API testing. So only thing is that web services will be tested on the internet. Okay, what about this one, guys? This diagram here, these are not web services, guys. Okay, in the local machine only, different components are interacting with other components locally without internet. Okay, so via a different channel, not the internet, guys. Such kind of testing is directly called as API testing, guys. Okay, so web services also testing is also API testing. This testing is also API testing. Okay, but web services means on the internet they will happen. Okay, normal API testing means so component to component in your machine itself they will happen. That is API testing. Fine. So that layer you understood. Hope. Okay. Hope you are able to understand this part. API testing. Testing such kind of requests and responses is known as API testing. And coming to the database testing, you see here, guys, from the front end, if you give some details here, okay, when you give your first name, last name, and other details in this front end page, okay, other details in this front end page, and click on the continue button, these details will be passed to the server machine. Server will process these particular details and create an account, right? If these details are valid, the server will create an account. And after the server creates an account, okay, when the server creates an account, it will store all this first name, last name, email address, and all the details of the register account thing into the database. So here we are giving some data here, okay? So to create the account, we are entering some data from the front end. From the front end, we are entering some data, and that particular data is being saved to the database by the server. But is the server properly saving the data? Whatever the data we are entering here, the same data is getting stored in the database or not? Who has to check? We have to check. Okay. What we have to do is we have to say actual data. Whatever the data we have entered into this application from the front end is actual data, and we will be while performing the database layer testing, database testing, we'll run some SQL queries, guys. Okay, here server is not going to run. We are going to run after the server has created the account and stored the data. We are going to run some SQL queries on this particular database and retrieve the particular data which is entered into this from the front end layer, and we have to match this actual data with the retrieved data here, actual data with the retrieved data via the SQL, whatever you retrieved. If both are matching, that means server has properly stored the data into the database, and such kind of testing is known as database testing. Okay, such kind of testing is known as so database testing. Testing performed on different layers of the application, okay, is also different ways of testing the software, guys. Okay, so that also another way of categorizing. And other category we can do is functional testing and non-functional testing. Okay, so for example, here if you go to this particular application, and let's say you went to the login, and here you gave some credentials like valid email address, valid password you entered, and click on the login button, and you are able to log in, right? By giving the proper credentials into this application, you are able to log in. So if you are able to log in, is the login functionality working fine? Yes. But what type of testing you have performed here? You have tested the functional testing. You check the functionality of the application. When you provide valid credentials, is the application allowing you to log in or not? Or other testing can be when you create valid details here in the register account page and click on continue button, an account is getting created or not. Such kind of testing performed on the application, checking the functionality of the application is nothing but functional testing. Not always we do the functional testing, guys. Not always we do the functional testing. Sometimes we have to test the characteristics of the application. Okay, how speed, okay, how at what speed this we are able to log in, at what speed we are able to create an account. Okay, is application faster enough? Is application is able to handle thousands of real-time users simultaneously accessing this particular application over the internet? All these kind of things, how to test, guys? We have to test using a non-functional testing type that is called as performance testing. We have to do performance testing like load testing, stress testing. All this comes into the performance testing, guys. Okay, so it comes into non-functional category where we are testing the speed of the application. Okay, in the real world load conditions, what is the speed of the application we are checking? That is called as performance testing. Now we have security testing also, which falls into the non-functional testing category. We are testing the security characteristics of the application. We are not testing the functionality of the application, where we are testing the characteristics of the application to see whether the application is secured or not. Only the users who have the proper credentials, okay, only the users who have the proper credentials can access the application. If a if a person who don't have an account with this application is able to log into the application, there is a security problem. Or while creating account, is application asking for a complex password or not? Okay, or a normal password is accepted? Normal password is accepted, then security wise application is not good. Such kind of testing the characteristics of the application rather than testing the functionality of the application is known as non-functional testing. Under non-functional testing, we perform performance testing, and we perform security testing to find out any security loopholes are there in the application using which the hacker can attack the, okay, application. So in advance, we have to perform security testing and figure out the problems that hacker may utilize to hack the application. Okay, in advance, we have to do that. That is security testing. Fine, which comes into the non-functional testing category. And apart from whatever the basic testing types that you're going to answer in the interview, this many are enough, right? You have answered a lot of things already. Okay, if you explain this basic testing types in the interview for this particular question, you're already good, guys. Okay, but you can also at the end, when you want to stop answering the question, you just mention that Okay, this whatever I am explaining is whatever the testing types I explained are only the basic testing types, but there are 170 plus software testing types available which no one can remember. Okay, few examples are, apart from that, we have black box, white box, positive, negative, smoke testing, regression testing, array testing, sanity, unity, whatever you remember, you try to give him a list of 10 to 15 is enough case. Extra thing like system testing, acceptance testing, remaining all no one can remember guys. Okay, there are 170, you see, as you can, I keep on scrolling. A lot of testing types are available here, right? A lot of testing types are. No one can answer this many testing types. Just give whatever you remember after explaining the basic testing types. After explaining the basic testing types, you explain this other testing types to the interviewer. Okay, so that he can understand that you have good knowledge on the software testing. Fine. So hope guys you got the answer for this question, and you understood how to answer this particular question when this particular question occurs to you in the interviews. Okay, so that's all for this session guys. Okay, so see you in the next session where I'm going to answer another interview question for you, another software testing interview question for you. Till then, thank you, see you, bye.